the valid account to gain further access to their next level? That's a very typical question. But for normal CTF, they not encourage you to do the brute force. But for some of the questions, they may still ask you to do so. So if you are tackling this kind of question, you may consider to write some script languages to, for example, using some open source ORC, you know ORC, the OCR, some character recognition program to read the captcha and then reply back. So it is a very typical challenge that the CTF question may ask you. Or they can say, ask you to calculate some mathematical question, like what is the answers of 2 times 7? Of course, you can calculate it manually and type it back. Say you can type 14 and get back to the server. But for a challenge, for a typical challenge, they may say, ask you to reply back within 1 second. So you need to write certain script, like if you're using Perl and wget, you probably need to read their questions and then pass it back to your programming language, calculate, and then get back to the server to get the correct flag. So because I didn't participate much capture effect games, but that's one of the questions I've seen many years ago. So it's quite interesting. Maybe I get back to. So that's a typical, if it is static web page, it is a typical HTML. Because I'm not sure how much you guys understand about web programming. So I start from very beginning. And this is a typical HTML web page that you can just view source in any browsers. And for CTF games, probably you need to inspect the web page or using particular tools like Kali Linux or Verb that I will go through it later on. So if you try to send out some traffic outside the screen, typically when you do a Google search, because it is involves some dynamic processing, so the server back to in Google may need to process your query and return the result back to you. So it of course it involves some database behind, or they have some very complicated programming. If you are using Gmail, it is not just a static web page, but it have a storage, and then it have some JavaScript running on your web server to display those fancy effects. So that's how a web page works. And say if you try to do some query on Google, it actually sends out a request, a GET or POST request back to the web server. So what an attacker can conduct is that they can try to manipulate these inputs. Because for every request, it involves some parameter in the GET query, and also it have cookies, and here is the cookie. Say because I have previously logged into Google, they have stored some of my personal information, like what's my account and what's my current sessions, and what's the user agents you are browsing your website. So if you want to fit yourself as say your mobile browser, you can try to manipulate this user agent into others. Also, they have those query, say what kind of language am I using and what is I guess this is a specific topic issue. Okay, so for this is because GET requests involve headers and the contents inside. So this is every parameter a hacker can manipulate. Say for some attack, they may try to put some SQL query inside certain parameters to extract some content you are not used to view. This is a typical SQL injection. Say if you want to extract some credit card data or some other user accounts, so you can make a query inside certain parameters. And if you are trying to hijack or change yourself to other entities, if the application is not well written, you can try to manipulate through the cookies. Say if I am user 1, if the application is not written it very well, then probably they may have say SID equal to user 1 or user 2. So if you try to manipulate this parameter, you may fit your entity to others. So for CTF question, if he asks you to escalate yourself to from a normal user to administrator, so one of the technique is through the manipulation of cookies. If you are used to be a normal user, you can just change it in say administrator or admin. So it's also a very typical works that you can try. And this is it. And also they have the response. So the response is after Google process your query, say if you type A or I type A. This query. So if you Google will reply back with certain format. This is a JSON format, and this is actually the suggestions given by Google, and you will be able to see from. So that's the JSON query we get from Google, and then on the on your web client side web page, it will try to parse and process the query from the response from the Google and display it on your web page. So that's the basic knowledge of the basic theory of how a web browser and a web server communicate to each other. So up to now, I guess everything is still very simple, right? And you can 有冇啲問題先？呢一度大家都明，即係呢個好 basic，very basic theory of how web servers。Okay。咁我就去翻If you have time and you have a laptop, actually you can go to a website called So this is because actually our company have captured the flag event that just launched in mid of March, I believe, and it invites every university student to participate. and we have just launched this online practicing game for the 即係你註冊咗就可以入呢個 online page。就是說，如果你已經參加了這個遊戲的話，就可以在這個版面去 practice 一下比如說它有很多問題，你可以開啟自己去玩啊。因為我知道就是我講普通話吧，應該大概都聽得明我，不算太差了。如果太差的話，你就舉手，我就嘗試一下再講。因為你知道其實有一個 PWC 啊，也 organize 一個 event 呢，可是他好像就沒有獎金，就只有一個 internship 給大家，不過也不錯，因為這個我們好像已經 deadline 了，所以如果大家還有興趣的話，可以再參加一些，比如說國際的比賽啊。如果在國外有一些 DevCon 的比賽，要是台灣就有 PCon 你可以參加，還有就是 PWC 他們將會辦一個，大家有興趣也可以去玩一下。不過這個他辦得不錯的原因，就因為是愛春秋，他在國內其實。香港可能沒有聽過，不過如果在國內，他好像一年就舉辦100多場 CTF 的比賽，所以他們非常的敬業。還有他本身有很多 tutorial， 你可以自己去看一下，有很多 YouTube 的 video 啊，可是這講的話，大家聽得懂就可以過去看一下。其實我覺得是在國內它算是辦得不錯的一個機構嘛，它大部分都不用錢的。還有，如果有些同學已經參加了我們阿雪跟他舉辦的比賽的話，其實你們也可以 access 他一些 paid course， 就是你們也可以參加不用付錢去看他一些本身要付錢的東西，所以。如果參加的話，大家可以就花多一點時間去 study 一下。OK， 然後因為再說一次真的不好意思，因為我真的沒有時間 prepare 一些 slide 給大家，所以我就很快的把一些 CTF 要注意的事情就放在這邊。首先呢，就是因為 CTF 它是一個是一個好像 ACM 一樣的，就是你要大家知道 ACM 嘛，就是一個programming 比賽，你要 solve 它的 problem， 其實怎麼 solve 你一定要非常的 creative 啦，因為一般的，比如說可能你有聽過一些 tools 跟 SQL injection， 它不會那麼簡單的給你用一些 tools 就可以過關。它是大的問題就比較難的，所以你要be creative， 然後要persistent， 這個就是我的 suggestions。還有你要想一下，因為他也是一個出題的人吧，因為大家讀中文大學，我覺得應該應付考試的話，應該完全沒問題的。應付考試最主要就是讀 past paper。所以如果參加這些 CTF 比賽也一樣啦，它有很多 write up， 或者是你在網上可以找到很多不同的人已經解決一個差不多的問題，所以如果你可以花多一點時間去看一些 write up 的事情，還有幫助。還有就看是誰來辦比賽，因為如果我不知道大家對 CTF 有認識多少啦，如果你參加過一些國外的比賽的話，其實它每個比賽的 patterns 都不一樣的。比如說 DevCon 它有一個特定的模式，就是 there are certain format that every competition is actually different。我就是講翻普通話，咁就所以就說，如果大家參加了愛春秋的比賽的話，你就一定要花多一點時間看它之前的問題是什麼樣，然後你就可以想象它變化不會很大，因為出題的人都是很懶的，都是 lazy 的，他 因为每一天每一个比赛都想一下不同的问题给你，跟你考试一样的。他反正 professor 大概都是转一些题目啊，你的题目有很多，所以大概不难认出来。还有就是因为不同比赛有不同的 rules 啊，也要看清楚。因为比如说我们举办那个爱春秋的，我们跟爱春秋举办的比赛的话，rules 很简单了，只要你是大学生就可以参加。可是要 undergraduate 啊，如果你是 postgraduate 就很可惜，这一次不行，对不起。不过没问题，你可以应该在国外是很多比赛，你可以有兴趣的可以参加。就跟这个搭配吧。还有 ，OK， 还有你必须认识意大利的 scripting language， 比如说 Perl script、IPython， 或者是 Shell script， 这个你一定要认识。大家有没有懂不懂一些简單嘅 scripting language？ 應該沒問題啦。冇讀過嘅 Perl。Example。Python 有冇
？IPython 同 Python 有冇分別
？IPython is actually interactive Python.
Oh, okay.
Is and they have one from GitHub that people build it for CTF, just for CTF. So for this one, they actually modify the how to say the interface of Python and make it more interactive. Say if you are finding buffer overflow address, they have certain plugin that can speed you up and